Well done. Okay, so yeah, everyone's starting off on your backs today. Let's come and just lie down, plant the feet. So often you kind of come to your mat and you're like, oh, I really don't know what to do, or I feel like moving. Start with the feet flat on the floor and the knees bent. This is a really nice place to start. It is also a place one can get a bit stuck when you come to do it by yourself, because you might just find you're there for half an hour, which is great in itself. So, you know, if that's what your practice ends up looking like, that's great. But let's just have a little sense of just moving around the floor to start with. So just gently finding the ground underneath both feet. Maybe that takes the form of kind of gently kneading like a cat does, you know, with your toes into the ground, just waking up through the toes and then spreading the toes out. Maybe the hands want to get involved there too. Mine always sort of, once I start doing that with the feet, my hands start to move around a little bit too. Okay, maybe plant the feet back down, roll the backs of the hands to the floor, and then roll the palms of the hands to the floor. And then roll the backs of the hands to the floor and the palms of the hands back to the floor. So shuffle the arms around if that's too close to your body or it's too far away. So just getting a little roll in and a roll out. You can switch that up by turning one palm in and one palm down, and then the alternate way. So that's up to you how it feels to do one hand or both hands. So have a little play around with both of those, and let's bring the head into play. So gently rolling the head from side to side to match the hands. Now, maybe the pelvis wants to get involved too. So a little rock forward and back as the hands move, the head moves. Getting a little play around with the body. Has the breath got involved? Can you feel a definite exhaling going on? Little pulsing through the whole body as you roll gently over the lower back. So you're getting a small pulse through the pelvis at the same time. So you're rolling forward and back over the pelvis at the same time. Good, let's bring that back to stillness, but keep, the hands and the head back to stillness, and keep the lower back gently rolling forward and back. So a little pelvic tilt, just rolling over towards the tailbone, and then rolling the spine back down to the floor. Rolling towards the tailbone, and rolling the spine back down. So it becomes this nice, comfortable, waking up kind of movement. Let's bring that back to stillness and then come back down to the feet. So let's push gently off the left foot and then push gently off the right. So alternating a little push and a lengthen away with that knee from alternate feet. So pushing and releasing, it's like a pulse. Push off the right, release. Push off the left, release. Now finding, when you've got that little pulse, finding a little bit more movement through that. So the back of the half of the pelvis lifts. So if I push off the right foot, the left knee heads away from me and the right back of the right hip lifts. And then it rolls down. If it catches in the lower back, you're going a little too high for your body. Gently rolling side to side, knees lengthen away. They're staying up towards the sky. They're just lengthening away from you as you take that sort of side to side shift with the hips. Pushing off one foot, lengthening a knee away. Release it down. Pushing off the other foot, lengthening a knee away. Roll it down. Good. Bring that back to center. Come back to stillness. Draw one knee in, then the other knee in, and give them a gentle hug. Notice if there's any stiffness in the front of the hips, lower back. Just being aware of that. It'll roll side to side. And then place the left leg down and take the right leg up to the sky. Clasp or use a strap. I'm going to clasp behind the back of my right leg. If you want to use a strap, do. You can point the right toes up to the sky, get a lovely stretch up the front of the shin, and then lift the heel up to the sky, turn the toe towards the face. And again, point the toe and flex, point and flex, and then circles in one direction with that ankle, and then circles back the other direction. Good. Bring the knee once more into the chest and send that heel up to the sky. Good. Bring it down and pop the foot back down. Take the left knee in, either with a strap or holding behind the back of the leg. That's up to you. Heel up to sky, toe up to sky. Lovely stretch. Notice the difference between the legs of what feels a bit tighter. Is it the front or is it the back? As you point and you flex. Point, last one, and flex. And then circles around one direction and back around the other direction. Lovely clicks. Bring the knee into the chest, stretch it up, heel to sky. Let's take that once more. Gently draw that knee in. Notice if there's one side is a little bit tighter than the other. Release it off. Pop the foot down. Take the arms out at shoulder height, palms facing up. Let's bring the inside edges of the knees together and the inside edge of the ankles together. So if we go to the left side, the sole of the right foot completely lifts off the floor and the outside edge of the left foot stays attached to the floor. Gently dropping the hips across, look over to the right side if that's comfortable. Good. What we're going to do is we're going to take those right fingertips over the head, trail on the floor, all the way towards the left hand. So the knees stay on the left side and you're closing your book off to the left side. So you're completely on your left side, knees stay bent, lovely. Stretch the right hand past the left hand, so it's kind of heading away from you. So you've got a lovely stretch out, and then take the fingertips all the way back over the head to open the chest again, keeping the shoulder as close to the floor as you possibly can. Lovely, pause there, pick the knees up. Plant yourself back at center, shuffle the hips, make sure you're comfortable. Okay, inside edges of the ankles and the knees, and take them across to the right side, looking gently to the left if that's comfortable. So the head goes opposite way to the knees unless that's difficult for your back. Good. We're going to take the left fingertips all the way up, trail them on the floor, all the way through the shoulder joint, all the way to meet the palm on the other side. Pause on that right side for a moment, and then stretch the left fingertips past and take them all the way back over the head, nice and slow. Enjoy that lovely movement through the chest. Open it out just for a pause, and then bring those knees all the way back to center. Lovely. Bring the hands down alongside you, palms face down to the floor. Plant the feet. So if you want to use a block here, that's always a good idea if you feel a bit unstable in the bridge pose. We're just going to come into a gentle bridge. So you can plant those feet not too close to the bottom, but again, you'll know if you're too far away because you won't have so much strength in it. You want to gently tilt the pelvis up towards the rib cage, squeeze the bottom to lift yourself up. Really squeeze the bottom to uncurl, lengthen the knees away, open up the fronts of the thighs, fronts of the hips. Lovely. Drop the shoulders to the floor. Squeeze the bottom. Notice if one side is gently squeezing a little bit more than the other. And then curl. See if you can do vertebrae by vertebrae. All the way back down. Lovely. Take the fingertips up to the sky. Plant the shoulders. So broaden across the backs of the shoulders. And then take the fingertips all the way up to the sky as the shoulder blades widen around the back. So almost they come underneath the armpit. And then draw the shoulder blades towards each other. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So you're moving from the shoulder blades, not from the arms, although the arms are lifted. Then broaden the shoulder blades and then squeeze them back in. And again, draw them up. Last time, squeeze them back in. Keep the fingertips up to the sky, but just soften off. And allow the back of the shoulders to really spread across the floor. Sometimes it helps to hold a brick end to end between the hands because it just kind of keeps everything stable. Bring the right foot into tabletop, right knee into tabletop, sorry. Engage through the belly, draw the belly down to the floor so you can bring the left foot into tabletop. So everything, you're like a dead bug here. flex the feet and point the toes. You can flex the feet and point the toes. Okay, now just be careful of the lower back here. So anything you need to do, and if you're doing it too long, please take a foot down to the floor. Okay. We're going to take right arm and left leg away from each other. So just lengthen them as far as that feels possible. Pause and bring it all the way back. Good. Left arm, right leg, take them away from each other, gently drawing the belly down, pause and bring them back. Good. Then again, right arm, left leg, draw the belly down, pause and bring it back. Okay, so if at any point this is getting too much, you might want to put the opposite leg down onto the floor, bring it back. Once more each side. Right arm, left leg. Please don't overdo it with the back or the neck. So if the neck, let's bring that back. And left arm, right leg. You could put a pillow underneath the head if it's pulling too much. And then bring that all the way back. If you need to bring the knees in, if you need to shuffle, please do so. Otherwise, we're just going to pause here again. We're just testing the abdominals a little bit. So what we want to do is keep those arms really stable. If you want to use a block between the knees or the hands, please do, because it does help a little bit just to keep everything contained, particularly if you've got any issues in the lower back. So keeping the hands where they are, let's take the knees gently off, just so the back of the pelvis doesn't leave the floor, but just take the knees slightly to the right and then back to center, and then take the knees to the left and back to center. Good. And off to the right and back to center, and take the knees to the left and back to center. You can see why a block here might work, because it keeps the knees stable and it would keep everything in one place. So just a few more of those with the knees. So you can now take the knees as far as you like, but you've got to be able to pick them up again without the hands moving away from their center line. So you suddenly realize actually it's not very far. And if you take them too far, everything becomes a bit wild. Bring those back to center, and we're going to fix yourself across the back of the pelvis here. Okay, you're going to take the so the lower back does not move, but it's coming down towards the floor. Take the thumbs towards the floor behind you. Lengthen yourself out and draw the fingertips up to the sky. Good. You're going to take the fingertips off to the left-hand side. So the arms gently come off to the left, but the knees stay stable and back to center. So same thing, but you're just using different muscles here. So the knees want to stay really stable. The hands want to stay equidistant apart. They're not coming up differently. And again, you can see why a block would work here, so that they stay. You're not taking your shoulder off the floor, but you're just moving it across. And bring it back to center. You've done a few. Good. And let's take the thumbs once more back down to the floor. And bring them up. Did you notice one thumb hitting the floor before the other? That's also something you can. Good. Bring the knees into the chest. Give it a roll. Bring yourself into a roll, forward and back. This is why I can't sell these videos, because I laugh. Bring yourself into a lovely rock and roll. Good. All the way up to seated. If you want to challenge yourself, cross the legs, roll over, hop back onto knees. Otherwise, just flip yourself over and onto hands and knees. Okay, so we're going to challenge ourselves a little bit this way round. Good. Okay. Lovely. So onto your hands and knees. Just think about what's going on in the core, because that's where we're working. So we want to keep the lower back really nice and stable. Take the right leg out behind you. So think about if there's too much going on around the pelvis. We're working with that hip and your stability. Bring that right foot into the left knee and then take it out. There will be some shift, because of course, because we're moving the knee underneath. But what we're trying to avoid, or trying to control and contain and build strength and stability, is in that pelvic tilt that we can sometimes get. And actually you can feel it almost coming up around the shoulders. It's just being aware of what moves and what we can support and what feels comfortable. So let's take the next one in, bring it around the front of the knee, sit yourself back down. Good, bring it all the way up. Let's take another one of those. Take it all the way out, bring it in and take it around. And bring it back to center. And on all fours. Let's take it to the other side. So 3 out, left leg out, working out what's shifting. And notice when you shift, take it out. So there will be a rounding as you bring it in. Is it smooth sometimes? Is there a bit of a bump? And in. And then the next one, let's take it out and take it in and around. Sit yourself down. Obviously, if bringing it around the front isn't great for the knee, then please just keep with the in and out. Take it back and let's just do one more of those. Settle down. Good. Bring it all the way back and pause. So if you've got a block or two nearby, it might be quite useful to have them. I'm just going to move a little bit more with the hips. So all fours, bring that, bring your right foot in. Yeah, I'll do it facing the camera. Bring your right foot into the knee. You may want some blocks, so it depends, okay? So if you do, I'm going to do it with my fingertips in line with my big toe, okay? So that's kind of where you want. If you want those blocks, have them here, okay? Tuck the back toe under. You're lifting with the hips, so tuck the chin in. Lift with the hips up to the sky. Chin stays under, head is very uninterested in what's going on. Notice how interested the head is. Keep it really tucked under, and then sink that left knee back to the right heel. Good, and again. Right leg's getting a bit of a nice stretch. See if you can lengthen it out. Put the knee back down. Last one, we're going to come up again. Lift it up and curl. Okay, we're going to pause here. So back heel wants to go down. That's it. Back heel goes down, so bring it in where necessary. Lovely. Take the right hand block onto the inside edge of the right foot. Okay. Left hand goes to lower back. Keep the knee bent if you need to at the front there. Those of you who've been doing this for a while, you can perhaps work with trying to lift out of the belly. So you take the pressure off the hamstring. Can you engage through the core and kind of lengthen out the body so you come to a sort of a right angle almost? Lovely. Now, if you're happy there, left hand can uncurl. So take left fingertips to shoulder and up to sky. You can be on the fingertips. Perhaps the palm can face away out. That's it. On those fingertips. Lovely. Take the hand to the lower back. Rotate the chest back forward. And bring yourself gently, knee back down to the inside edge. The right foot. Lovely. Great. Everyone's nailed that. Take it back. This is such a nice one to do, just if you've got a few minutes. So let's take that left foot in. Remember, it works to bring the fingers back in line, okay, so that you're not too spread out. Tuck the chin in. That's the really important one, is think about the head's not interested. Head is soft. Hips rise once and lower. So now you're feeling it probably in the hamstrings, glutes of the left leg. Little lift. Good, and down. And then once more, lift. Lovely. Just pause for a moment there. Check the back foot. You want the back heel to be down so that you've got some balance. You want to bring that, if you're using a block, left block into the inside of the left foot. Right hand to lower back. Now you don't have to lift any higher than this. There is a balance involved here. You want to engage through the core so that you lift and you're coming up. So you're lighter. That's it. Carry on, those of you who know what you're doing. You can take that right hand to shoulder and lift it up. Good. So it's a balance here. You can really feel you're having to work against gravity got some good old lengthening going on, good old strength building up. Right hand comes back down, rotate the chest, fingertips come down, knee comes down. Good. And back onto all fours. Lovely. Sit yourself down to child's pose. Lengthen the arms out. Good. Pausing in child's pose, take the arms out in front of you if you haven't already. And let's walk the hands across to the left side. Plant the right hand and maybe put the left hand on top of the right hand. Kind of really stretch out that right side of the body. Lovely. And release and come back to center. Walk the hands across to the other side. Plant the left hand and put the right hand on top. So you give a lovely stretch. Super. Bring it back to center. Good. From your child's pose, bring yourself up. If you want to grab a blanket, if you like to have one under your knees, we're just going to lift up and come up onto the knees, lifting the chest all the way up, bottom gently drawing in underneath you. So we've done this before. I'll do it sideways because you're going to it's a kind of moving from the hips, not from the lower back. So there'll be a bit more of that, leaning forward. Jim, we've done this before. It's a lovely whole body movement. You come down to one side, top arm comes down, and then you lead with that left arm, coming all the way through. Hips go back as you come forward, and then you lift with the right arm. So that's it. And then you go back with the right arm all the way down, hips go back, just to release on the lower back, and then you lift with the left arm. Back to a T, and then it's back the other way. So it's all the way back down. These are great. Big circles, there's no need to hurry them. And then you go back the other way. So you kind of end up doing both sides. So that you can do as many as you like. Let's do one more. But remember, you kind of switch, doesn't really matter, but if you sort of switch the arms as you come, so you lead with the opposite arm, and then the other arm takes over to bring you up. Leave that there. Interlock those hands behind the back. Gently draw the bottom, lift the hips up to rib cage, and open the chest. So squeeze the shoulder blades together. Make sure the bottom's kind of squeezing so that you've got some length up the spine and a little bit of cobra going on here. Lift the arms up and away. Good. And then softly release. Give the shoulders a bit of a twirl. Good. Lovely. Tuck the toes under and just reach around to your right side and catch hold, or whichever side, catch hold of an ankle. Good. Those of you who are happy just reaching around and catching here, do that. Anyone who wants to lift that opposite arm up, keep turning to the side. Those of you a little bit been doing yoga for quite some time, feel free to explore drawing the chest a little bit more forward to the front, but remember to keep the bottom nice and squeezed and the thighs nice and lifted. So we're not leaning back here. There's no leaning back. You're keeping everything lifted at the front. Lovely. And then bring the top arm round. Let the hips go back a little bit, just like we've been doing, and reach with the other side. So you don't have to lift that top arm, but you do want to keep those thighs as if they're against a wall. So this is a good one to practice against a wall, if you've got one and you're not quite sure what you're doing. But you'll feel lovely pull out and lengthening out of the hips, perhaps sides of the body if you're getting a bit tight. Let's just do one more each side. Lovely opening, but also strengthening because you've got to engage to keep yourself here. Lovely. When you're ready, exhale. Bring it around, take it to the other side, and lift it up. Good. One side, you may be feeling a little bit more something than the other. And let's bring that back all the way center, just back onto all fours and take a little movement, just side to start with, rather than cat-cow immediately. Side to side to ease any of that off. Good. Okay, tuck the toes under. Actually, you don't have to tuck the toes under. You can if you want. It depends what you want. We're just going to move gently forward and back because we are going to move to tucking toes under to come to down dog, but not quite there yet. Now let's just move with the lower back a little bit in case things have got a bit tight. So finding your cat-cow, but maybe sending the bottom away as you take the hips back, and then finding a kind of cat as you move the hips slightly forward. So it's not quite so static as staying in one place. You're kind of spreading the bottom behind you as you move the hips back, and then you're tucking the bottom underneath you as you come forward. And hopefully any tightness from having done some of those quite strong movements will have eased. Good, and then bring yourself up onto all fours and take a classic cat-cow. Now, we have done it, but one of my preferences for cat-cow is to actually move the hands, a whole hand place in front. You don't have to do that, but I like that because it contains the movement. So there's less space there's more length and less movement, if that makes sense. You can really feel either at the tailbone or between the shoulder blades, like an actual point that you can start moving from. And it's really nice to pinpoint and to move around those places that you're moving from. So you can either take your awareness between the shoulder blades or crown of head or tailbone. And it's really interesting to explore your cat-cow from those places. If you want to take your hands back to straight underneath you, feel free. And you can see the difference in the movement pattern. There's much less length there. And if you have a tendency for a sore lower back, I'd say that's with the hand straight under the shoulder, it's going to bring it on quicker because you're doing a lot more movement in the lower back, whereas the hands right in front, you've got the whole spine to face. And you can move a bit. No, back, forward and back. Brilliant though. We are going to come back to center and we are going to put the hands back underneath the shoulders because you're going to make your decision if you're coming up into your down dog or you're taking your half down dog today. Remember, half down dog, you stay on your knees and you stretch the arms out. Full down dog, take the hips back, toes are tucked under, knees hover so that like we did with those lifting, hip lifting movements, we're lifting with the pelvis. So that should feel quite natural to you just to lift with the pelvis, your strong hydraulics. Bend one knee and then bend the other knee. Good. And let's walk the feet towards the hands. Good. Standing forward bend, tuck the chin in, soften the knees, and let's uncurl. Remember to draw the pelvis underneath you as you uncurl. All the way up. Lovely. Step the feet hip distance, maybe a bit more. Find a little side to side. And bring the arms with you. Lovely swimmer claps. Fit these in anywhere, anytime. Remember, if you've got something going on in the belly or lower back, maybe you don't want to have the hand whacking against the stomach. Just be gentle. There's no need. But otherwise, it can be quite a nice little massage to the kidneys and the abdomen. Let's bring that back to center. And before we do our figure of eights, we're going to do our chair flow, our horseman's flow. So if you have a block or a cushion, you can fold in half. So I like it this way. It's entirely up to you. Okay, so everyone remembers. Inhaling. We're going to do 5. Exhaling, round the spine, open the shoulder blades, let the knees gently soften. Inhale, open. Exhale, move to the toes. Let the shoulder blades drop gently. Inhale, come down. And exhale to your chair pose. Draw the belly back so the lower back's not arched. You've got this lovely straight line, and then exhale, push the floor away. And inhale. Exhale. So it's just a little rounding. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So you're going to do 3 more. You allow yourself to pause either at the chair or at the top with however many breaths you want. But please take another 3 in your own time. If anybody's not quite sure of what they're doing, give me a shout. That's it. See if you can keep your focus on your breath. Notice all the distractions, the main one probably being is, I'm not sure what's coming next. Just flow with it, just see what you can find. Moving through the whole spine. Is there a part of the body we're not using with this? See if you can find that part that you're not using and use it. Is it a fingertip or an underarm? I think we're on to the last one. Keeping the awareness of the nostrils if you've got everything else. Maybe stay one extra breath. In your chair pose, hip bones lift up towards the rib cage, leaning slightly forward so that you're not entirely upright, so that you're giving yourself some space to lengthen out. Use the thighs. Sit down just a fraction further, like you're sitting into your chair, favorite chair, and then squeeze the bottom to come up. The block helps with all of that, but you can do it without the block as well. Let's move that out of the way. Just keep hold of it for a sec, actually. So we'll just do a few rounds of teacups, but I'll just let you to stand for a moment and just see how that feels. Up through the legs, through the lower back. And let's move gently into your, just a little bit of shoulder rotation, shoulder movement when you're ready. And you can keep that nice sense of staying contained within. Feel free to close your eyes when you do this, because you've all done it for a while now. Now, remember, we're not holding the block. Dropping it is part of the practice, that the process of what goes through the mind when you drop it, but also this idea that I'm not going to drop the block. So just, see what we can do to letting that go. It really doesn't matter, and you just swoop down and you pick it up and you carry on. And we're noticing your limitations that you've got in shoulders. Everyone has something, limitation somewhere, whether that's shoulders, hips, or ankles. And when you're ready, place the other hand on it. And let's work with a little bit of freedom in the other shoulder. Allow the whole body to get involved. If you want to, you don't have to. And again, where's the breath moving? Does it help to focus on breath? Does it feel really nice? How much pleasure do you get moving through the air and space without being too much thought into it? Are you tensing anywhere else? Can you release some shoulder or a fist? And bring that slowly, slowly back. When you're ready, unwind, lovely, and place that back down. Step the feet out a little bit further. Just let the arms feel nice and moving as you start to come to your figures of 8. And remember, with your figures of 8, you kind of want to float the right hip forward and the left hip back, and then the left hip forward and the right hip back. So it's not a kind of contrived hip movement, but we're moving around the feet is actually what we're doing. We're moving from the feet all the way up. And you remember, we've done it from the ankles. We're doing it from the pelvis. You can do it from the rib cage. And you can do it from the shoulders. You can do it from the crown of the head. So find your place that feels like you're kind of rotating in this sideways figure of 8 around this central point in the middle of yourself. Can you feel that movement all the way around the outside edges of the feet? You're remembering to keeping on coming back to that. That's what we're doing. Not just flinging ourselves around. That feels nice. Just gently moving through that space. So as we keep just doing the last few rounds of this, I'm just going to mention here, because it may crop up if you do this again, is that you may be thinking, well, are we going to go back the other way? And actually, I did used to, and I've stopped. And I'm just going to share that with you because it's just my learning, is that I think it's better to do the closing in, actually, rather than that, which is opening out, because I'm not sure that's necessarily right for people's backs or mine. So I like this moving in, and actually the research that I've done around it with other yoga teachers are finding similar. So I've come to that conclusion. That's what I will teach. You're very welcome to do it the other way around, but I will always go with right hip forward, left hip back, left hip forward, right hip back. So it just works for me like that. Okay, let's bring that back to center. And that again is something you can do. In fact, I was teaching someone the other day, a chap, and he was saying that he had been watching some, this is a real aside, anyone play golf? That he was watching some videos, Nick Faldo was teaching, and he was saying, do these figures of 8 because it frees up the lower back. And I was thinking, actually, that kind of works for tennis too. That sort of whole freeing up movement of and keeping your core, your groundedness. I think it's really interesting, and how we also work around with the shoulders. You can do that, or figures of 8, obviously, as well. So it keeps everything flowing. Step up to the front of the mat. Anyone want to talk about that further? Send me an email. No doubt. Okay, hands to the heart. Let's inhale, lift it up. Good, soften the knees, float yourself forward. So we're heading towards our sun salutation section, our Surya Namaskar. Fold it down whichever way you go. Lift the hips up to the sky in your forward fold. So you're challenging your hamstrings. Hands always touching maybe fronts of the legs or to the floor. Try not to let yourself just float, because then we're into lower back territory. Heels of the hands up underneath the knees and lengthen yourself out. So we're back into that lovely tabletop pose. Fold it forward. Good. Let's step the right leg back, knee to the floor. We're just going to do a straightforward sun salutation to start. Tuck the pelvis under. So you gently draw those hip bones back up towards the rib cage. Notice what a difference that makes as you lift. Let's add in a rotation there. So left hand goes up to the sky. Now just check that left knee hasn't kind of collapsed out to the side. Let's keep everything nice and contained and building strength. So little building blocks. What are we doing? Hands to the floor, right toes go under, step back to your plank. Good, drop the knees, the chest, and find whatever cobra works for you. So if it's turning the fingertips in, it's not now, squeeze the bottom, push the pelvis down to the floor. You don't have to come up very high, but you do want to roll the shoulders down and keep them away from the ears. That's it. Elbows can be on the floor, that's fine. Good, and lower yourself down. If your elbows are on the floor or you find your elbows going out to the side, I really recommend keep bringing them in so you're all in line. So if unless you've got your hands turned in, then your elbows can go out to the side. But if your fingertips are in, they're pointing towards the top of the mat, keep the elbows into the sides. If you want to come down and do Sphinx, elbows come down rather than go out. They don't stick out to the sides. Does that make sense? You want to be containing everything so that nothing is going to get left behind. Uncurl yourself, hips back, downward facing dog. So that's something I'd love for you all to work on over the summer, is that movement from your belly back to downward facing dog. Tuck the chin right under. Look up to the hands, drop the left knee and step the right foot forward. Or step the right foot forward and then drop the left knee. That's up to you. Good. Tuck the pelvis, left hand down, right arm goes up. Rotate. Good. Take the hand down. Left knee picks up, step it forward. Push down to the floor from the feet and uncurl yourself all the way up to standing. Maybe open at the top, palms together. Left side. Inhale. Float yourself down. So again, these can be taken half rise. These sun salutations, you can just pick out and you can just do a couple of sun salutations. That's a great all over body practice. Okay, knee to the ground. Let's, instead of going to demonstration, let's do something different. Let's tuck the pelvis under and lift the arms up. Anjaneyasana. Open the heart, take the hands down. Take the front toe up to the sky. Hips go back. Stretch out that hamstring again. We've done quite a bit of that, but this is another little suggestion for you to do. So you can take a couple of those up to the sky and take them back. But let's go into our plank for these purposes. Good. You can pause in your plank. You know planks are good for you. Drop the knees or take chaturanga, whichever you're working with, but please don't just take chaturanga because you know you've seen people do it. It's better for the shoulders to get them in the right place, not to stress them out. Cobra. Cobra or Sphinx, whichever one is working for you, that's it. Shoulders down, that's the one. Elbows into the sides. Lovely, fold it down. And then push back to your downward facing dog. Through the hips. Lovely. Lift it up and away. Lift it up and away, tuck the chin underneath you. That's it, good. Lovely, and then take the left foot, bring it into the hands, drop the right knee. Good, tuck the pelvis under, lift the arms up, open up, hands down and stretch out that left leg, take the hips back. Good, bring it forward, slide that right foot in, uncurl all the way up to standing, open and hands to heart. Let's move into your warrior series. So step the left leg back. Good. Plant the foot, slightly open the foot out because we're going to move to your warrior two. Find your balance. Check that front knee hasn't collapsed in. Bend the front knee. Good. Right palm turns up. Take your reverse. Okay, keep that knee coming towards the big toe. That's it. Lovely. Bring it back to warrior two. Lovely side angle. Keep that knee bent. Take the elbow to thigh. You can keep the left arm up or you can take it to the lower back. See how you're feeling. You can keep it up. You can take it over the head. Entirely up to you. Lovely. Now let's come out of this, but let's think about how you're going to come out of it. Engage the glutes. Tuck the pelvis slightly and push through the feet so that you're just working through that top part. Lovely. Hands to hips. Rotate back foot and chest towards the front. Take the hands down to the floor. Step back to downward facing dog. Good. Give the hips a wiggle. Take the right leg up to the sky. Bring the right knee behind the right wrist. Now, for those of you who don't like doing pigeon, come onto your back and bring that right foot in. So everyone else can happily come into pigeon. Otherwise, on your back, figure four. So if you're in pigeon, so they're going to give you some nice variations. That's it. Remember, if you're on your back, your whole pelvis needs to be flat. I'm going to come around. So if you're in pigeon, you can either come up onto the hands again, and you can take a couple of turns to the right side and back to center, just to center right, and then you can dip the side of the bottom down and up just a couple of times before you set yourself down. Lovely. Okay, great. Does it get tiring like that? okay? Because you can also have that. And I'm going to put something under your head because I think that would be helpful. Is that a bit better? You don't have to kick the block away. Great. So you could straighten that knee up a little bit. There you go. So there you've done the other leg. So just remember that on the other side. Good. How does that feel? Intensify. Lovely. So you've collapsed. There, more like that. Is that difficult? Or is that? Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Uncurl. If you're on your back, you're going to roll yourself around back to all fours. Those of you in pigeon, hands back, tuck the toe. Give that leg a shake off. And you can either hop, walk, or step yourself back to standing forward fold at the front of the mat and uncurl. Remember to get the glutes involved so that you kind of uncurl as a sort of wave rather than a haul. Okay. Steady yourself and let's step back. Warrior two. On the other side. So floating through, make sure you're not just kind of holding it there because it's a chore that you've got to get through. This is something you want to actively seek out in your day. Left hand palm goes up. You want to seek it out because it makes you feel good. You know that after it, it's like anything that you do. It just has got that something that picks you up. It may not give you the most aerobic workout. You can go for a run or a cycle ride with that. But this has something extra to it. And it also brings really, as we all know, these long-term benefits. Okay, lovely. And back up. So remember, you're tucking under. Play around with that. So you've got this stability. Hands to hips, rotate to the front. Down, downward facing dog. Give it a wiggle out. Left leg goes up. Bring it in. Pigeon pose. Pigeon pose, turn a couple of times, or if you're not on your back, if you're on your front, you can turn a couple of times to the side or drop the pelvis once or twice, and then come into your nice deep pigeon. Figure four is a great pose. So whether you choose to do pigeon all the time or every now and again you do your figure four, they're really, really great poses. Okay, this knee come out a little bit. That's it. Does that work? Is that not so comfy? Good. And then take the hands coming back. So obviously when you're practicing by yourself, you can do this for a lot longer. But I would set a timer and not do it more than a minute on each side. Bring it all the way back, because remember, what we don't want to do is to kind of overstretch this. This is not about creating massive stretch, it's just a release, and we can actually get some engagement while we're doing it. So always think about that leveling off with the pelvis, because that creates your container. Lovely. Leg back to downward facing dog, and then when you're ready, walk, hop, or step all the way forward and uncurl. And there you are, back up at standing, ready to do your balance because you're feeling super balanced, supercharged. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to you if you want to practice your flowing tree, or you just quite fancy a little bit of complete stillness straight up. So if you're doing flowing tree, remember we take it in front, same arm. breath. See if it's got stuck somewhere. Can you take it all the way down to the base of the lungs? Maybe you can practice with unfocusing the eyes, even closing them. Bring the hands when you're ready back to the heart. Pause for a moment, reset, and when you're ready, carry on with the other side. And I fully subscribe to the it's the wrong pair of leggings tree when it just doesn't work. Skin on skin is the best. Check out the breath. And then bring the hands in. And again, a tree can be done at any point. But when you're in your tree, if you've got your arms out, always try and bring them back to the heart before you release the leg. It just gives you that extra second in tree and kind of contains the movement. Okay, take the feet nice and wide. Those of you who don't want to come into a squat, meet us down on the floor. Anyone who wants to come into Malasana, feel free to sink yourself down into Malasana, but be careful of any knees that are a bit sore. You know, some days they are just a bit sore. You might have done something. If you can pop yourself down, do. Take the legs out, the hands behind you. Take a bit of windscreen wipers. And so remember, you've got two types. You've got where you can lift the hip up and get a big old lengthening out at the front of the hip, or you can keep your bottom down and just really work deep in those hip sockets. The wider the legs are, the more movement you'll find. Let's bring that back to center and take an Ardha Matsyendrasana. So half spinal twist, let's fit one of those in. Tuck and across. If you don't like tucking one leg under, stretch it out. You can sit on a brick to do this, to lift the hips a bit. That's it. So the leg that you've got on top, you're going to that direction. So stretch out one leg, that's it. So you take your any knee that you've got bent, you take that arm behind you. Okay, that's the way you're going. Crown of the head, inhale, exhale, open the chest, let the face follow. So trying not to force yourself round from the lower back. You can do that. But... So remembering crown of the head, rotate upper chest, middle chest. Trying not to go from the lower back. Okay, so we're not going to hold this for too long, but you can. Roll yourself around. And again, you can use your phone, set yourself containers, 30 seconds to a minute. Bring yourself up. It does help, and switch over. It does help to use a timer, because then you know, it just sort of makes those boundaries. We all need boundaries, no matter what age we are. Okay, rotate. That's it. Make sure you're doing the other leg. So take the knee that's bent, take that hand behind you. That's it. That's good. Notice if there's any more cramp in one side than the other, or a bit more pulling, stiffness. Interesting to notice. Maybe that's the side you need to set yourself for an extra 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Come back to center, or if other than that, you could always just do that first, do the other side, and then do an extra 15 seconds on that stiffer side. So that's quite a nice way to do it. Uncurl, let's grab. So there are plenty more things you can add in. There's a forward fold, obviously. We haven't done our Ardha Chandrasanas. Remember, we did those last week. You can always ask me during the break to describe it, show you some stuff on YouTube. Let's just pause for a moment. I will also put up a breathing practice separately to this. But let's just take a pause for a breath before we take a Shavasana. So just settling, and notice where the breath has gone. We've rattled through quite a quick class, so that's been really nice, and it's a really it's probably gone really fast. Let's just settle into breath, and if we had a bit of extra time, so I'll put something separate up, which you can also do. But just finding that inhale over the upper lip, all the way down. Take it all the way down to the base of the lungs. Feel that expansion around the rib cage. Maybe the belly inflates slightly without forcing it. And then exhale, squeezing the rib cage back in. Feeling it all deflate, and feel that air coming out over the upper lip. Be really aware. Even if it's only for a second at a time, being aware is what counts. And practicing these gentle breath patterns and fits really well into how you practice your asana, your physical practice. So we want to be really conscious, really aware, so that we can really move deeply in the body, as opposed to just moving around the surface. Let's take a little inhale again. How about a pause? Why don't we take some square breath? Let's exhale. So we're going to take a exhale and then another pause. And then I'm going to count you through a nice couple of rounds of square breath before Shavasana. So the next inhale you take, let's inhale it for 4, 3, 2, 1. Try and really fill it up and pause for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then pause for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. And pause for 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause 4, 2, 1. And by yourself, inhale for 4 and just do a 1 round. When you've done that whole square, come down onto your back if you want to. We've got 1 minute left of Shavasana. You can either stay seated and carry on with your square breath, or come down to the floor for a moment. We're just being aware of how the breath feels, how the body feels, how the mind feels. Take any position that's comfortable and bring your awareness back to that inhale and that exhale over the upper lip. Being aware of the distractions that pull you away, the thoughts, the sounds, all the stuff we need to do, all places we haven't been to yet. All the things that we didn't do yet. Getting that sense of really settling peacefully inside the body and the mind, even the breath. And just being aware of how that feels, so that you know that it doesn't need a full hour of yoga to achieve that. You can do this in 10 minutes. Just pick the bits that you like and practice them. Just a tree and a bit of breath work. A sun salutation, and then you're off. But do the breath in your sun salutation. Settling that sense of deep peace and contentment. Knowing that's really achievable every single day. And when you've got that, there's also the case that you don't really even need the asana practice if you know how to tap into that sense of calmness, of clarity. It's all there. Take another really deep breath into the bottom of the lung. And exhale. And this time, take that breath and take it all the way to the bottom of the lungs, but also to the tips of the fingers and the toes, so that the body's aware it needs to start moving and waking up and re-entering first with renewed vigor and purpose. Stretching and releasing, shifting and shuffling, letting the eyes gently open and close, being aware of shapes, colors, textures, patterns, cobwebs. And when you're done, roll onto your side. Push yourself up to seated. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you all so, so much for coming. All term, all year. We've still got some year left in September, so I can't quite see. This will be available. There will be others available, and I will email you all about that. It'll all be there for you to do. And please, at any point, email me and say,